President, dear speakers, dear guests, dear colleagues, and all. I would love to welcome all of you as a Eurasian Universities Union. Today, our webinar on international ranking of for young higher education institutions, challenges and opportunities. And moderator for this webinar, our distinguished Ms. Ayşe Deniz Özkan. So she will be taking all of this webinar. Good luck to everyone. Welcome again.
Thank you, Sabina. We have a very distinguished panel here today, this afternoon. So thank you to all our speakers and our audience. I would like to start with opening speeches, welcoming remarks from our dearest distinguished Professor Rector Elmar Gasimov from Baku Higher Oil School. Elmar Hocam, mikrofonu öncelikle size vermek istedim. Siz Türkçe konuşabilirsiniz ve Gönül Hanım da tercüme edecek zannediyorum. Sizi dinliyoruz. Açılışımızı sizin katılımınızla başlatalım, yapalım.
Mustafa Bey yoktu. Gönül Hanım, ben başlayayım yoksa Mustafa Bey başlayacak?
Sizə Elmar mən birinci söz verirlər. Çünki Türkiyədə daxili qaydadır ki, əvvəlcə rektorlar danışır, daha sonra başqana söz verir.
Aydındır. Mustafa Bey görüşte var.
Burada hocam. Buradadır. Dinleyir
çok
sizi.
Güzel, çok güzel.
Başkanımız buradalar hocam.
Onda başlayalım.
Let's start then.
Biz vaxtında başlayırıq. 2 dəqiqə geçmişik ama başlayırıq.
We are very good, by the way, in time management. We are just 2 minutes late.
Əziz dostlar, xanımlar və cənablar.
Dear friends, dear ladies and gentlemen.
Çox hörmətli Mustafa Bəy Aydın.
Distinguished Professor Mustafa Aydın.
Mən hər birinizi Bakı Ali Elm Məktəbinin professor müəllim heyəti adından salamlayıram.
It's a pleasure for me to welcome all of you on behalf of Baku Higher Oil School faculty and staff members.
Və gənc ali təhsil müəssisələrinin beynəlxalq reytingi, çağırışlar və imkanlar seminarının bütün iştirakçılarına uğurlar arzulayıram.
And hereby I would like to express my gratitude and to wish success to all the participants of our today's international seminar.
Bu tədbir çox əhəmiyyətli bir tədbirdir.
I believe this will be a very useful event for all of us.
Praktik bir seminardır.
We are going to have very practical experience and information from this webinar.
Çıxışların məruzələri və məzmunu bizi çox sevindirir.
We have initially seen some of the presentations and we believe that they will be very interesting and very informative presentations during the event.
Ümumiyyətlə, dünyada bilirsiniz 50 minə yaxın universitet, ali təhsil müəssisəsi fəaliyyət göstərir.
I'm sure you all know that the total number of the universities is for about 50,000 all over the world.
Və hər ildə universitetlərin sayı artır.
And this number is increasing day by day, year by year.
Bu həm Türkiyədə belədir, həm də Azərbaycanda belədir, eyni zamanda bütün ölkələrdə belədir.
The situation is not only the same in all over the world, but also in Azerbaijan and in Turkey.
Və belə güclü rəqabət şəraitində universitetlərin reytingdə, dünya reyting cədvəllərində yer tutmaq uğrunda mübarizə daha deməli rəqabət yönlüdür.
And competitiveness becomes very important in this very competitive atmosphere and process.
Və belə şəraitdə universitetlər, həm klassik universitetlər, həm yeni yaranan universitetlər müxtəlif reytinglə bağlı indikatorların həyata keçirməsini həll edirlər.
And in such a competitive process and situation, both the classic universities and the young universities, or relatively young, newly established universities, do their best to become listed in the international rankings while learning their methodologies and procedures.
Klassik universitetlər reytinqə biz baxsaq, bəli, klassik universitetlər artıq reytingdə öz yerlərini tutublar və həm Times reytinginə görə, həm Şanxay reytinginə görə artıq bu universitetlər demək olar ki, öz yerlərində stabildilər.
If we just look through different rankings, such as Shanghai rankings, such as QS and Times, we can see that the classical universities have already grounded their place in the list of the universities, international universities and rankings.
Və bu indikatorların, gənc universitetlər üçün bu indikatorların birinci növbədə müəyyənləşdirilməsi önəmlidir və bu indikatorları demək olar ki, həll etmək qarşımızda əsas vəzifə olaraq durur.
But as for the young higher education institutions, it's very important for us to define these indicators and methodologies and start working on these methodologies in order to be listed among these universities.
Biz bu məsələlərdə, yəni reyting, universitetlərimizin dünya reytinglərində yer tutmaq məsələlərində Türk universitetlərinin həyata keçirdiyi təcrübədən yararlanmalıyıq.
And we believe that being Azerbaijani universities, higher education institutions, we have to get benefit, we have to learn the practice of the Turkish universities.
Türkiyənin koskocaman Orta Doğu Texnik Universiteti, İstanbul Texnik Universiteti, bu universitetlər hər zaman nəinki Türkiyənin, Azərbaycanımızın da qürur duyduğu, fəxr etdiyi universitetlər olubdur.
For example, the universities like Middle East Technical University and Istanbul Technical Universities, they are not also the source of the honor and the source of the experience, not only for the Turkish universities, but also for Azerbaijani higher education institutions.
Çünki Orta Doğu Texnik Universitet elə illər olub ki, 200-lükdə dünyanın ən güclü 200 universitetlərin sırasına daxil olubdur.
Because I remember some years, the statistical data of the international rankings when METO has been among the top 200 universities all over the world in this international.
Çox böyük uğurdur.
I believe that this is a really very big success.
Eyni zamanda Türkiyənin gənc universitetləri, yəni 20-30 il bundan əvvəl yaranan universitetlər, Koç Universiteti, Bilkent Universiteti, Sabancı Universiteti, bunların da biz baxırıq reytingdə nüfuzları çox yüksəkdir və bu istiqamətdə nəzərə çarpacaq uğurlar əldə ediblər.
And we can also say that some younger higher education institutions of Turkey, such as Koç University, Bilkent University, and Sabancı University, they also managed to be listed in the very top rankings, in international rankings. And we can
Mən qürur duyuram ki, Mustafa bəy Aydın'ın yaratdığı Mustafa Aydın Universiteti də bugün gənc universitet olaraq bu reyting cədvəllərində yüksək uğurla inkişaf edən ali təhsil ocaqlarından biridir.
And I'm very glad to see the fact that Istanbul Aydın University, which was actually founded by Professor Mustafa Aydın, has been successfully stepping towards this step, and we can see very good success and successive results in terms of the international rankings.
Ümumiyyətlə, gənc universitetlərin bugün reytingdə uğur qazanmaları yaşlı, daha doğrusu daha çox uzun müddət fəaliyyət göstərən və klassik universitetlərə nisbətən daha asan əmələ gələ bilər.
In some terms, I believe that being listed in the rankings for younger higher education institutions is somehow easier, taking into account that we know the methodologies in comparison with the classical universities.
Və belə şəraitdə biz hal-hazırda təbii ki, əsas bu indikatorlardan biri müasir kampusların yaradılmasıdır.
We can see that some of the main indicators include, for example, establishing modern campuses for the universities.
Müasir laboratoriyaların yaradılmasıdır.
Or establishing modern laboratories.
Yüksək kalitəli tələbələrin qəbuludur.
Recruiting high quality students.
Tədrisin təbii ki, ingilis dilində olması vacib şərtlərdən biridir.
The language of instruction being English is one of the important factors.
Müasir kitabxana sistemini yaratmaq vacib şərtlərdən biridir.
Creating an up-to-date library system.
Növbəti indikator məzunların işlə təminatıdır.
Or students' graduate employability, one of the main indicators as well.
Ali məktəbin ölkə daxilində nüfuzudur.
The higher school's reputation nationwide.
Mən həmişə bunu öz əməkdaşlarıma deyirəm. Biz ölkənin daxilində nüfuz qazanmasaq, xarici reytinglərdə nüfuz qazanmaq bu biraz gülünc olar.
When having the discussions and meetings with my colleagues, I'm always saying that if we as a university are not popular among the public, national public, then it doesn't make any sense to be competing for international rankings.
Universitet birinci növbədə təmsil etdiyi ölkədə, mənsub olduğu ölkədə böyük nüfuza malik olmalıdır.
So it's very important for every higher education institution to have a good reputation at its own country, which the university is representing actually.
Və ən nəhayət, ən vacib şərtlərdən biri elmi tədqiqat, onun nəticələri və onun praktik formada uğur qazanmaları.
And finally, of course, the academic part of the ranking, academic methodology, scientific results, scientific publications and citations.
Biz Bakı Ali Elm Məktəbi olaraq 10 ildir fəaliyyət göstəririk.
Baku Higher Oil School is going to celebrate its 10th year anniversary very soon.
Və bu 10 il ərzində mən saydığım indikatorların demək olar ki, əksəriyyətini həll etmişik.
And within this short period of time, within the last 10 years, we have fortunately managed to achieve these specific indicators that I have already enumerated.
Yəni, müasir kampus, tədrisin ingilis dilində olması, müasir avadanlıqlar, müasir laboratoriyalar, yüksək səviyyəli müəllimlər və yüksək səviyyəli mühəndis hazırlığını həyata keçirmək, eyni zamanda əmək bazarında böyük uğur qazanmaq.
We have very good campus, we have very highly equipped laboratories, we teach in English, we have very good labs as well, we have a very high profile academic staff, so all these indicators have been managed to achieve.
Ancaq ən böyük problemimiz bizim elmi tədqiqat və gənc mütəxəssislərin elmi tədqiqata yönəltmək və elmi tədqiqatda uğur qazanmaq. Bu bizim qarşımızda bu dəqiqə duran əsas vəzifədir.
But the main indicator, the main factor that we still have to achieve is research capacity of the university and to be able to involve young specialists to the research activities.
Hətta bu əcnəbi tələbələrin də sayının, yəni sayı da önəmli rol oynayır. Bununla da biz məşğul oluruq. Amma əcnəbi tələbələrin yerli tələbələrlə faiz məsələsi belə elmi tədqiqatın təşkil edilməsində daha normaldır və daha problemsizdir. Elmi tədqiqat bizim üçün ən mühüm bir problem olaraq qalır.
Of course, international students is also a part of the methodology indicators which is ranked, which is indicated by the international rankings, but I think that it's a more easier process to start recruiting and increase the number of international students. But academic involvement to the research process is one of the biggest issues that we are currently facing.
Ən böyük problem ondan ibarətdir ki, bizim ali məktəb mühəndislik ali məktəbidir. Mühəndislik ali məktəbini bitirən gənclər, elmi potensiala belə böyük potensiala malik olan gənclər istehsalata və birbaşa karyeraya gedirlər.
So the main challenge for us being an engineering university is that most of the young specialists who have a very extensive and very good background in engineering, they do not want to stay with the university when they graduate, but they want to go to the companies, to be recruited by the companies and by the industries.
Bu tələbələr, bu məzunlar işə üstünlük verirlər və doktoranturaya görürsən ki, meyil çox az edirlər.
So all these graduates from the engineering specialties, they want to be recruited right away by the industries, and they don't want to stay with the university and continue doing their research or PhD studies.
Ona görə də ali məktəbimizin bu dəqiqə qarşısında duran əsas vəzifə yüksək elmi potensiala malik olan gənclərin ali məktəbimizin elmi tədqiqatlarına cəlb etməkdir.
So we see this as one of the main challenges for our universities. So our main issue will be involving our young potential specialists to do research and to be involved in the research processes.
Əziz dostlar, universitetlərin dünyanın nüfuzlu reytinglərində yer tutması bu 1 ilin, 5 ilin işi deyil.
Dear friends, I personally believe that being listed among the international universities in the international ranking systems is not something that we can do overnight or over a day.
Bu uzun müddətli, uzun 10 illərin və dayanıqlı və davamlı siyasətin nəticəsində olmalıdır.
It should be achieved throughout years, decades, working very hard and building sustainable development.
Bu prosesə universitetlərə dövlət və cəmiyyət böyük dəstək verməlidir.
Both the government and the community should support extensively the higher education institutions in this regard.
Bu gün universitetlər eyni zamanda ölkənin və millətin brendidir.
I think the universities are at the same time a brand of the nation.
Bu gün dünyada Böyük Britaniyanı Royce'dan əvvəl Oxford və Cambridge universitetlərinə görə tanıyırlar.
The UK is internationally known not only for its Rolls-Royce mark brand, but also for its Oxford and other universities.
Bugün MIT, Harvard və Stanford universitetləri General Motors'dan daha məşhurdur dünyada.
I personally believe that MIT, Harvard, and Stanford University, these universities are more recognized all over the world rather than General Motors, for example.
Bu baxımdan universitetlərin brendləşməsi bu millətin və dövlətin marağındadır.
So I think that branding of universities should be in the interest of the public, of the community, and of the government.
Və hesab edirəm ki, gənc universitetlərdə xüsusi departamentlər fəaliyyət göstərməlidir bu proseslə bağlı.
And my general belief that working towards the ranking should be systematized and specific departments should be established at the universities to work on this regard.
Çünki dünyanın nüfuzlu universitetlərində yer tutmaq bu millətin və dövlətin səviyyəsinin göstəricisidir.
Because being listed among the international ranking systems and the international ranking systems should be a kind of an image of the nation and of the government, of the country.
Azərbaycanda bu yerə layiqli universitetlərimiz var.
We really think and believe that there are many universities in Azerbaijan which should be listed in international rankings. They deserve to be listed in these rankings.
Onlardan biri bizik.
So Baku Higher School would be one of them.
Təvəzzükarlıqdan uzaq olsa da deməliyəm.
I'm not speaking very humble, but I should say that.
Amma eyni zamanda ADA Universitetini mən burada hörmətli prorektorumuz Faris müəllimi görürəm.
I can see our distinguished vice rector, Faris İsmailzadeh from ADA University.
ADA Universitetini mən deyərdim.
ADA, I think this is one of the universities of Azerbaijan which deserves to be listed in the rankings.
O indikatorlara cavab verən ki, bizim gənc universitetimiz var ki, biz hər ikimiz birlikdə bu prosesi bir yerdə həyata keçirməliyik.
Because we are both young, relatively young higher education institutions, and we can, I think, achieve implementation of these indicators, which will help us to be ranked in international ranking systems.
Eyni zamanda bu cür universitetlərin reytingdə yer tutmaları digər universitetlərə də bir rəqabət mühiti yaradır.
And being listed in international rankings will be a kind of a sign for competition for the other national young higher education institutions in Azerbaijan.
Əziz dostumuz Mustafa bəy, əziz xanımlar və cənablar, əziz dostlar.
Dear friends, my distinguished friend Mustafa Aydın, dear ladies and gentlemen.
Dünyanın nüfuzlu universitetlərində nəinki Azərbaycanın, İslam dünyasının belə nüfuzlu universitetlərini biz demək olar ki, görməyəndə bir narahatçılıq hissi keçirməliyik.
Unfortunately, I think that we are very sorry, we feel very sorry, and we should feel sorry when we don't see not only the Azerbaijani higher education institutions, but also the higher education institutions from the whole Islamic world in international ranking systems.
Bugün dünyanın 100 ən güclü universitetində İslam ölkələrindən heç bir universitet təmsil olunmur.
I regret to say that neither of the universities from the Islamic countries are represented in the top 100 universities of the world in the rankings.
Biz yalnız minlikdə, 2000-likdə axtarırıq universitetlərimizi.
We are searching for these universities in the first 1,000 or in the first 2,000.
Ona görə də biz hər birimiz bir-birimizə dəstək verməli və təcrübədən yararlanmaqla öz sahəmizdə doğrudan da nüfuzlu universitetlər sırasına çıxmağa çalışmalıyıq.
So I think that all these type of universities in Azerbaijan should help each other, assist each other, and try to achieve success in this regard.
Mühəndislik sahəsində bizim kifayət qədər potensialımız böyükdür, xüsusən neft-qaz mühəndisliyi, kimya mühəndisliğində.
We really have very big potential in terms of the engineering specialties like chemical engineering and petroleum engineering.
Beləliklə, mən bütün seminar iştirakçılarına təşəkkürümü bildirirəm.
So once again, I would like to thank all the participants of our webinar.
Və bütün çıxışlara diqqətlə şəxsən özüm qulaq asacağam.
I'm going to personally stay until the end of the webinar and to listen every single presentation.
Ki, öz gələcək əməli fəaliyyətimizdə bugünkü seminarın gözəl fikirlərindən yararlanaq.
to be able to benefit from the results of our webinar and to practically implement all these recommendations that we are going to have from our distinguished speakers.
Bir neçə gündən sonra 28 may tarixində bizim Respublika günümüzdür.
We are going to celebrate the Republic Day on 28th of May.
Mən fürsətdən istifadə edərək bütün Azərbaycan sevərləri bu gün münasibətilə təbrik edirəm.
And I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate all the lovers, all the supporters of Azerbaijan on this occasion.
Bu bizim böyük bir bayramımızdır. Müstəqillik günümüz, Azərbaycan günü, Respublika günü.
The Republic Day, the day when we got independence first, is a very important occasion for us.
Və bir daha Mustafa Aydın'a, Doktor Profesör Mustafa Aydın'a, Mustafa bəyə, onun komandasına bu beynəlxalq seminarın keçirilməsinə xüsusi dəstək verdiyinə görə dərin təşəkkür bildirirəm.
And once more, I would like to use this opportunity to thank Professor Aydın and all his team for supporting Baku Higher School in organizing this event.
Mustafa bəy, biz sizə bir motivasiya nümunəsi kimi baxırıq.
Professor Aydın, we are seeing you as a kind of sign of motivation for us.
Biz burada olarkən fikirləşirik ki, biz çalışırıq. Amma sizi görəndə görürük ki, yox, çox çalışmaq lazımdır.
When we are here, just in Azerbaijan, we think that we are working very hard, we are doing our best. But when we see you as a person and personality, we still think that, yes, we have to work harder than this.
Türk universitetləri nə qədər çox irəli gedərsə, Azərbaycan universitetləri də bir hədəf olaraq, bir mayaq olaraq universitetlərə baxıb inkişafa daha çox maraqlı olar.
Because the success of the Turkish higher education institutions would be a role model for Azerbaijani higher education institutions, and we should benefit from the results from the best practice of Turkish universities, I think.
Çox sağ olun, minnətdaram.
Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Professor Rector Elmar Gasimov, and thank you, Gönül Hanım, for translating. I would like to now give the microphone to Professor Fariz İsmailzade from ADA University, Azerbaijan Diplomatic Academy. Just to say a few welcoming remarks. First of all, welcome to you, and I would like to congratulate all our speakers and audience members from Azerbaijan on the upcoming Republic Day. Cumhuriyet Bayramınız, Bağımsızlık Bayramınız kutlu olsun.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Deniz Özkan, and thank you, dear rectors, Mustafa Bey and Elmar Bey. Thank you very much for inviting me to this discussion. It is a great honor for me to be part of this event and to learn and to discuss some of the challenges that young institutions are facing. Our university is also 15 years old, so we are experiencing some of the problems that already Elmar Gasimov has talked about. But I would also like to say that in addition to being a small institution, we are also seeing some of the disadvantages related to being a small country. You know, it's not so easy to attract talent into a small country in today's globalized world. In globalized world, there's a competition for talents, competitions for resources. So our universities are facing both challenge of being small, young, and also in a country of newly independent state. But we are learning a lot, and experience of Turkish universities is very important for us. In that regard, this webinar is very useful, very useful. We can learn how Turkish universities, our brothers and sisters from Turkish universities are dealing with these issues. I will just mention very briefly that in our university, we are trying to increase internationalization so that we can boost our rankings. We do that by providing scholarships to foreign students, bringing foreign faculty, also engaging in dual degree programs with various universities around the world. When it comes to research, it is very difficult to link research to practical output, to commercialization of the projects, to innovation. So we are trying work on innovative centers, startup centers, and how to move from ideas into market economy and market products. We hopefully can boost our rankings by investing more in startups, more in research, more lab work. And of course, when it comes to teaching ratios, we are trying to keep classrooms small, provide more opportunities for students to do face-to-face interaction with faculty. And in that way, we are trying to diminish ratio of students to faculty. All of these efforts are still on the way, not very easy to do. As I mentioned, for young universities to have a lot of research, a lot of publications, not easy. But I hope that this webinar will be very helpful for us. Thank you very much, and I wish all the best to all the participants.
Thank you, Professor İsmailzade. I would like to now turn to EURAS President, Associate Professor Mustafa Aydın, for a few welcoming remarks before we start our panel. And Sayın Başkanım, açılış konuşmanız için ben size mikrofonu devretmek isterim.
Peki, thank you very much all for all the also especially my brother Elmar Gasimov. He looked very nice. He looked very nice. Thank you very much. Also, all the participation. Thank you very much. If you permit me, I want to speak Turkish language because there are a lot of people, they speak Turkish language. I want to speak Turkish language and translation. My colleague from the Ayşe Deniz Özkan, translation from Turkish language. Of İrem or
İrem,
ben yapacağım
İrem,
İrem
Evet.
burada
because
başkanım.
İrem all time she is my participation translation from Turkish language to English language. Öncelikle ben bütün arkadaşlarıma çok teşekkür ediyorum.
First of all, I like to take each and every one of you.
Elmar Bey'e, Fariz Bey'e ve bütün değerli arkadaşlarıma, Dori'ye, Konsolu'ya hepsine çok çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Especially Professor Elman, Professor Fariz, my friends, and all my colleagues in participation today.
EURAS'ın yine uluslararası bir webinarında bir araya geldik.
Once again, we are together in another international webinar of EURAS.
Bu pandemi sürecinde siz değerli katılımcılarımız, EURAS'ın değerli üye üniversiteleriyle beraber onlarca webinar yaptık. Yüksek öğretimi ele aldığımız.
We have been conducting tens of webinars with all of our EURAS members and all the valuable participants such as yourself during this difficult time of pandemic.
Özellikle bu süreçte pandemi döneminde yüksek öğretimi nasıl etkilenmemesi, ne tür çözüm önerileri ve iyi örnekler üzerinde beraberce konuştuk.
Especially we discussed the good practices and the problems and the solutions to the difficult times we have been facing during this pandemic era.
Zaten EURAS'ın da kuruluşunun en büyük temeli Avrasya bölgesindeki bu coğrafyadaki üniversitelerin bir problem anında nasıl bir yardımlaşabileceklerinin, sorunları nasıl ortak çözüm bulacakları konusundaydı. Temel kuruluş filozofimiz zaten bu.
Of course, the foundation of EURAS is especially to find solutions when the crisis and the problems arise, especially in our region, and find good practices and solutions to those problems all together as EURAS.
Ve gerçekten hepimiz çok iyi örnekleri, o iyi örneklerin ya tamamını ya veyahut da bir kısmını alarak üniversitelerimizde uyguladık Avrasya Üniversiteleri Birliği olarak.
And of course, all of us had learned from one another, and with these good examples we have been implementing within our universities, we have been helping each other tremendously.
Ben bunun için bütün arkadaşlarıma, katkı veren arkadaşlarıma, üniversitelerimize, Avrasya Üniversiteleri Birliği üyelerine şükranlarımı sunuyorum.
I'd like to extend my gratitude to all our EURAS members, to all our participants and our universities for their valuable contributions at this time.
Çok güzel çalışmalar yapıyoruz Avrasya Üniversiteleri Birliği olarak.
As Eurasian Universities Union, we've been doing many other projects work as well.
Şu anda 3 dergimiz, bir tanesi yayınlanıyor, 2 tanesi sağlık ve teknik olarak da buna dahil oldu. Onların da yayınlanmaya başlanıyor.
We have three academic journals, and one social is already in publication, and technical and health journals will be out published in a couple of months.
Öğrenci değişim programlarımız başladı.
We started
Aktif olarak yürüyor.
we are actively continuing to our student exchange programs online.
O aynı şekilde yaz okullarımız etkili şekilde başladı.
Of course, our summer schools has been going on very successfully at this time.
Yönetim toplantılarımız sıklıkla devam ediyor, aralıksız.
We have been conducting our board meetings and other webinars continuously.
Hepinizin bildiği gibi çok başarılı bir Avrasya Yükseköğretim Zirvesi'ni arkada bıraktık. Yoğun bir katılımlı, dünyanın dört bir tarafından binlerce katılan, yüzlerce üniversitenin katıldığı ve değerli bakanların katıldığı çok başarılı ve hele pandemi döneminde diyebiliriz ki dünyanın en etkili yüksek öğretim zirvesini gerçekleştirdik.
And we are very happy to have conducted maybe the biggest online education summit, Higher Education Summit, with the participation of thousands of participants, the ministers, the educators, hundreds of universities, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Bu çalışmalar içerisinde bugün de çok bir farklı konuyu ele aldık. Rankingleri ele aldık Avrasya Üniversiteleri Birliği olarak. Bunun önerisi de değerli kardeşim Elmar Kasimov'dan gelmişti. Ona da ayrıca teşekkür ediyorum.
Today we'll be discussing another very important issue, the rankings issue, and I'd like to thank my dear friend Elmar for bringing this issue to this webinar.
Hepiniz çok iyi biliyorsunuz. Ne yaparsanız yapınız. Gerek akademik dokümantasyon olsun, gerek ürün olsun, gerek hizmet sektöründe olsun. Ölçülemeyen her şey çöptür.
As you all know, whatever you're doing, it can be services, it can be a product, it can be an academic work. If you cannot calculate and measure it, it won't have any meaning.
Dolayısıyla biz de Avrasya Üniversiteleri Birliği olarak yüksek öğretimin bu olmazsa olmazı içerisinde neleri nasıl yapmamız gerektiği konusunda dünyanın nereye doğru gittiğini, dünyadaki yüksek öğretim camiasının eğiliminin ne tarafa doğru kaydığını takip etmek ve kendimizi ona göre uyarlamak zorundayız.
And of course, as EURAS members, we have to follow what the world is going in terms of higher education and what are the new trends and what we should do about them and follow them and learn from them and see what the future lies ahead for us.
Hepimiz çok iyi biliyoruz ki dünyada birçok ölçüm yapan ranking kuruluşları var.
We all know that there are many ranking institutions all around the world.
Times'ten QS'e, Şangay'dan URAB'a, yerel bir takım derecelendirme kuruluşlarıyla üniversitelerin performansları kendi kategorileri, dünyadaki, Avrupa'daki, Asya'daki farklı derecelendirme kuruluşları var.
The universities are ranked in many categories and many regional areas in Europe, in Asia and others with Times and QS and Shanghai and Europe, other local or regional rankings, and to see where the universities are in these ranking institutions.
Son dönemlerde bu kategorize çalışmaları daha da çeşitlendirildi bildiğimiz gibi.
And as you know, in the recent years, we see that these categorizations are getting enlarged and getting bigger every day.
Bölgesel kategorizenin yanında şimdi bir de genç üniversiteler, yeni kurulan üniversiteler şeklinde yeni bir kategorize önümüze geldi.
Aside from these regional rankings, we now see the young universities and young higher education institutions ranked as well.
Tabii burada bizlerin içimizde de yeni üniversiteler var, genç üniversitelerimiz var kuruluş itibariyle. Bu üniversitelerimizin de bu ranking çalışmalarında neyi nasıl yaparsa nereye ulaşabilir konusunda sizlerin değerli tecrübe ve deneyimlerine ihtiyacımız var.
And of course, we have many young universities within our members, so they are looking forward to hear what your experiences are in these rankings and to learn from this valuable parts.
Bugün sevindireceğiniz bir haber vermek istiyorum sizlere.
And I want to give you a very good news today.
Profesör Doktor Zafar Aslan, aynı şekilde Ayşe Deniz Özkan ve İrem Hanım'la da görüştük ve bu kararımı sizlerle gerçekten bildirmekten büyük sevinç duyuyorum. Avrasya Üniversiteleri Birliği içerisinde EURAS Ranking diye bir çalışmayı başlattık.
I talked today to Professor Zafar, Miss Ayşe and İrem today, and we're going to be starting our EURAS Rankings initiative as of today.
Bu yaklaşık 2 yıl önce başlanan bir çalışma, demosu hazırlanmış, sistem belirlenmiş. Son halini vermek için Avrasya Üniversiteleri Birliği üye üniversitelerden de görüş alarak artık son halini vererek uygulamaya başlayacağız.
We have been working on this for 2 years now with the methodology and other details, and now the finalized draft will be shaped with the contributions of our, of course, EURAS members, and we'll be sharing it with you very shortly.
Önce Avrasya Üniversiteler Birliği içerisinde bu ranking sistemini hayata geçireceğiz. Bir sonraki adımda Avrasya coğrafyasındaki üniversiteleri de dahil ederek böylece yolumuza devam edeceğiz.
We're going to start with the EURAS members ranking and we're going to expand to the Eurasian region later on.
Bu düşüncelerle ben değerli katılımcılarımıza ve konuşmacılarımıza verdikleri katkılardan dolayı çok teşekkür ediyorum.
With these remarks, I would like to once again thank everyone participating today to our panel.
Dönem bitmek üzere bütün değerli arkadaşlarımıza, akademisyenlerimize sağlıklı bir eğitim öğretim yılını tamamlamalarını diliyorum.
The spring term is almost over, and I wish all the academicians to end this term in good terms.
Koronasız günler diliyorum.
I wish everyone corona-free days.
Sağlıklı günlerde buluşmak üzere bütün arkadaşlarımı saygıyla selamlıyorum. Hayırlı, faydalı hem insanlık için hem üniversitelerimiz için hem Avrasya Üniversiteler Birliği için bir webinar olmasını diliyor, temenni ediyorum. Hepinize saygılarımı sunuyorum.
I'd like to extend my gratitude and wish for a healthy days to meet once again, and hope this webinar will be fruitful, productive, and beneficial for every one of you. Thank you very much again for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to EURAS President, Associate Professor Mustafa Aydın for his opening remarks and updates from our continuous work at EURAS. Now I would like to start with the panel presentations. We have a lot of distinguished speakers and presentations, so I will kindly ask all our presenters to keep their remarks to 15 minutes so that we can have a little bit of time for questions at the end from the audience. So I will first give the floor to Dario Consoli. He's consultant to the director of the University of Roma La Sapienza for rankings, and he's also a business development partner at QS. So his work involves rankings itself, and we are very excited to hear about recent developments in the rankings and how they may impact the young universities in our region. Dario, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Before thanking all there, can I please have I cannot share my screen, it seems. I must be enabled for that because I would like to share perfect, thank you, to share my presentation. Thank you for that. I would like to thank you, Professor Aydin, Professor Gashimov. I hope I pronounce them well, for hosting me. And I have prepared a basic, sorry, I'll try to share it now. Okay. There you go. I hope it works.
We don't see it yet, but it takes a few minutes.
Exactly. Share. It seems it doesn't let me do it. Do you have it with you? Maybe because I sent that to you previously.
Sabina, do you have the PowerPoint? Could you please share that?
Just a second, please.
Thank you. Sorry, because it doesn't let me enter for some reasons. Maybe
just a few more minutes, and here we go. Now we can slowly see, but now it's lost again.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So that was you, Dario?
Yeah,
we were almost there.
Exactly, but then I don't know why it didn't let me enter. I'll try again. Open.
Normally, we are allowing all panelists to share their PowerPoints. You should be able to. So, if not, Sabina, I'll kindly ask you to share the PowerPoint, and you can just say next, Dario, when you want to move the slides.
I'm sure that will be faster because it seems there's probably it's a problem with my own computer. I don't know why it doesn't accept me to share with you. So it's probably my fault.
Sabina, sen bulabildin mi PowerPoint'i?
Şöyle, şimdi Dario Hoca kendisi paylaşacağını söylediği için bizim hani onu gönderdiği içerik açılmıyor. Sıkıntı orada, içerikte yani, öyle söyleyeyim.
Dario, Sabina is saying that there's something wrong with the PowerPoint because she found it, but she cannot open it.
There you
So
go.
maybe there's like, that's why you're not able to share either.
Okay. Can I send it back to Miss Mehremova?
Sure. To Sabina.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss Aisha, maybe we can make another our speaker to make their presentation so that Mr. Dari, when he will be ready, he can open his presentation. It will be much more better.
Yeah, Dario, if you don't mind, I'll start with another presenter. Meanwhile, we'll try to sort this out. So let me just go to Professor Kabirul Islam from Daffodil International University.
Yes.
Can we? Yes, we can hear you well now.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
you. So Professor Islam is the director for the Division of Research, and I believe this is one of the areas that you're working on, and we would be happy to hear your thoughts and your expertise on this matter. Do you have slides, Professor Islam?
Yes, yes, I've got slides. Yes.
Okay, so let's wait.
Can I give me permission to share my screen?
Please. You should be able to, all panelists are allowed. You should be able to see share screen at the bottom.
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay.
We can see it.
All right. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Honorable President of EURAS, distinguished speakers, respected participants from different universities, and dear colleagues, welcome to my presentation. First of all, I'd like to thank Istanbul Aydın University and the EURAS for inviting me to participate in this international webinar as a panelist. I'd also like to thank Daffodil International University and the International Affairs, especially Mr. Raihat, for getting in touch with the organizers to make this happen. Today, I'm privileged to talk about institutionalizing research culture and university world rankings. Actually, these are a few keywords, and obviously there are relationships between research culture, quality education, and world university rankings. Actually, due to time constraint, I skipped this slide. Throughout my presentation, I will explain a model of a sustainable research culture and its impact on research outcomes in terms of scopus publications and achievement of world university rankings. And finally, I will make comments on the theme of the webinar. Okay, at the beginning, I start with the sustainable research culture model. Actually, I have developed this research culture model on the basis of my last 3.5 years experience as a director of division of research. And I was influenced by the concept note of the webinar. I have given a quotation here. Most of the young national universities do not have the relevant research capacity to ensure that they meet the specific requirements in terms of the main ranking indicators. So at the initial stage, our objective was to develop a research culture in the university. And we start with the formation of collaborative research groups in the department. And I am impressed to mention that these research groups comprised with senior faculty, mid-level faculty, and junior faculty members. And it is a very good combination for collaboration, interaction, and imparting training to the junior faculty members. And we also appointed a research coordinator at his department among the faculty members to oversee the research activities and to support the faculty members as per their needs. The most important criteria of this research culture is the semester-wise research progress workshop. As per our policy, it is mandatory for an individual teacher at the head of the department to make a presentation in this research workshop to give an overview of their progress of the research. And I also remain present in these research workshops to encourage our faculty members and to understand the overall progress of the department. I take another point here, okay. So we encourage our faculty members for cross-discipline collaborations. That is, the faculty members of CSA department have a collaboration with the faculty members of business administration department. And our faculty members have collaboration with the local university faculty members. And the most important, I think the collaboration is the international collaboration. We impose highest priority on international research collaboration and networking, that is collaboration with the foreign university faculty members in order to publish quality papers jointly. As you know that this collaboration has a direct impact on obtaining very good scores in world university rankings. At Daffodil International University, we also involve our students in the research activities. And another important aspect of the research culture is we assign KPI of Scopus index publications in a particular year for individual teacher and the department. As you know that substantial mark is assigned for research and publications in different world university rankings. We have a provision for monitoring and follow-up and make a report for the management regarding the progress of the university. And our philosophy is to encourage the faculty members for quality publication. That's why we provide financial support for publications of papers in conferences and journals, but it has to be in the Scopus index publications. Okay, we also organize a research award giving ceremony at the end of each year to encourage our faculty members and give them rewards for their contribution, for their Scopus in the highest number of Scopus publication, as well as the quality of publications. Now I move on to the next slide. That's the evidence of our the achievement of our research culture. There's the trend of Scopus publications. Our publication went up to 351 and 385 in 2019 and 2020. So that's a great achievement for the university, and I have to show that that our university has been ranked first among the private universities as per the Scopus publication in 2020, and fourth position among the public and private universities in Bangladesh. And also, our university was ranked first among the private universities as per the Scopus publications in 2019, and as well as fourth position among the public and private universities in 2019. That's a great achievement for a young university like Daffodil. Okay. Our research culture has a positive impact on achievement of different world university rankings. Initially, our position in World Asia, QS Asia University ranking in the range of 401 to 500. And we have been able to improve our position in 2020 in the range of 401 to 450. What does this ranking mean? I think it is a measure of our universities' international level of quality education, research potentials, and collaboration with foreign universities. I want to mention that if you look at the ranking methodologies, you would find several criteria where the partner universities can support each other. For example, academic reputation survey, research citations, international faculty, through online attachment as visiting professor during this pandemic situation, and international mobility. Okay. In 2021, and the university was ranked 301 to 400 among 1,115 universities worldwide, and first among the Bangladesh university. It is to be mentioned that this ranking indicator our contribution towards achievement of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This slide indicates our performances in different SDGs. I'm pleased to mention that we have been ranked 46th among 966 universities in SDG 4, that is quality education. I'm also pleased to mention that our performance is outstanding in case of SDG 17, that is partnership for the goals. All right, our research council led us to secure a position in SIMAGO institution ranking in 2020 and 2021. And SIMAGO institution ranking is awarded for quality scopus publications according to different criteria. These are overall rank, research rank, innovative rank, societal rank. And our overall position status is Q2 in SIMAGO ranking. Okay. Finally, I want to highlight the 4 important discussion questions posed in the concept note of this webinar. Apparently, my presentation has already covered few of these aspects. Apart from that, the government initiatives can include local university ranking every year, awards for researchers, universities, and also financial support for subscription of resources. Okay. Actually, I cannot explain too much because of the time constraint. This is my contact address. If anyone would like to contact me again in future, thank you very much.
Dear Professor Islam, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting to see the fruits of your work in just, a relatively short amount of time, to see the improvement in these rankings. It's very encouraging for many young universities who are listening right now. So thank you very much for sharing that. You can stop sharing your PowerPoint now, if you can.
Yes.
Okay. Dario, shall we try again? Yeah? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you for your patience. I think that they will try through,
Here we go. Gönül Hanım is helping us.
Miss Konul, yes, she will help me because it's my computer is, for whatever reason, it doesn't allow myself to share it.
Gönül Hanım, we can see the emails, but not the PowerPoint yet. Gönül Hanım, if you can stop sharing this. email screen, and then just open the PowerPoint just on your desktop.
I am trying, just a second.
Okay. Just open it and minimize it on your desktop, the PowerPoint, and then share screen. Here we go.
Perfect.
Okay. Dario, the floor is yours, or the mic is yours.
Thank you. Next slide, perfect. Yeah, that was the one. Thank you. So once again, thank you for hosting, and sorry for the problems at the very beginning. I hope it will go smoother now that I'm done controlling myself. I totally agree with what Professor Gasimov was saying at the very beginning of his presentation, when he said that it's probably easier for a young university to get a better ranking, or to escalate rankings fast. And one good example is actually the University of Rome Sapienza. I am consultant to the rector, Professor Polimeni, for rankings. And that's a very good example. The University of Rome is, as you probably know, is one of the oldest in the world, over 700 years old. In the last 5 years, we have worked hard, and we have achieved some good results, including escalating over 50 positions in the last 5 years. Now, the University of Rome is 171st in the world. It is also the 70th most, let's say, important for reputation, for worldwide reputation in the world. Also has a primacy in ancient history and in other subjects. But at the same time, as we will see later with my presentation, there have been other universities that have done much better than us especially young universities. Next, please. Next slide. So the agenda will be pretty brief. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Of course, I'll be at your disposal for any question you may have after. We will go through a very brief history of international rankings, the methodology of QS and THE, which are the two major rankings, using the reputation as a measure to include its own universities in the rankings. Then we try to go through some brief examples of how you can help to increase your own reputation, and how you can communicate with your own stakeholders, sorry, before going into the conclusions. Next, please. This is just a brief recent history of the rankings. As you all know, the World University rankings have been basically around for less than 20 years. The first one being Shanghai Jiaotong. QS came in 2004, 1 year after ARVU, and at that time, together with Times Higher Education, which later split into two separate rankings. And then many other rankings came on. Some of them are maybe more than rankings. We can mention them as ratings, such as the U multi-rank that some of you may know. It's an exercise financed by the European Union, or other rankings similar to that. Next, please. In the last few years, though, we can say that the three major rankings, those have been established as the major rankings throughout the world, both in terms of impact, in terms of traffic generated on the web, usage from students and other stakeholders, and also used by some governments to better allocate their financial resources. The three are Shanghai Jiaotong, ARVU, QS, at Times Higher Education. Next, please. Starting from QS, all of you, I'm sure, know the methodology, but just here, of course, we are speaking only about the major ranking, not the rankings by subject, which methodology changes according to the subject. But we can immediately say that for the general ranking, reputation for QS stands at 50% of the value of the whole ranking, 40% the academic reputation, 10% the employee reputation. And then the ratios, the statistical ratio, the faculty-student ratio is 20%, international faculty over national faculty, 5%, international students over national students, another 5%. So let's say the statistical data accounts for 30%. And finally, the citations by faculty, which is in the case of QS and times higher, is worked upon with Scopus by Elsevier, stands for the remaining 20%. Next, please. If you go on the times higher education methodology, there are many similarities in the sense that also times higher has a reputation survey, which in their case is divided into two separate results. One is for the teaching reputation and the other for research reputation. But if we combine these two, then their reputation survey stands for 33% of the methodology. Citation stands for 30%, and the remaining statistical data stands for basically the remaining 45%. Next, please. So if we take into account QS and times higher education ranking together, we can see that they basically are stand on three sets of data. The reputation surveys that weigh between 33 to 50% of the rankings. The research data from Scopus, as we said, which weights between 20 and 30% of the classification. And finally, the statistical data weighting from 30 to 35% of the rankings. This is true for the general rankings. When we go to the subject rankings, especially for QS, the statistical data goes away and everything is based upon reputation and research data only. So these two are obviously the most important set of data that a university should focus on. Next, please. So what can we do? What can a young and older university alike, what can it do in order to try to escalate rankings? In relation to statistical data, you can definitely review and refine the data you provide to each single ranking agency according to a very careful interpretation of the methodology. I would like to give you an example of what happened in Italy in the last couple of years. This is important because similar things may happen also in Turkey or Azerbaijan or Kazakhstan or Bangladesh or all the universities or all the countries that you represent. What happened in Italy 3 years ago is that the CRUI, which is the Conference of the Italian Rectors, got together to create a study of statistical data in relation to rankings. The rectors of Italian universities have understood that by coming together, they may have achieved something better than just going towards the single ranking agency alone. And for example, in Italy, some of you may know, Italy is one of those few countries in the world where international students pay the same amount of Italian students when it comes to tuition fees. To be even more precise, the vast majority of international students pay less than national students. Why? Because this is based basically in Italy, there is basically the right to study is granted by the Italian constitution, and therefore the vast majority of the cost is bared by the country. It doesn't matter if you're Italian or foreigner, and students pay according to the family income. What this means is that, of course, everything is related to the Italian average income, and therefore the students who come from countries where the average income is lower pay less than Italians. Why I'm saying all this? It's because, I'm telling you this because what happened is that in Italy, we have a higher ratio than other countries of students who basically pay almost zero. Sometimes they even have scholarships available. And for that reason, they lag behind in their studies. In other words, they don't graduate in the given amount of time. Approximately 1/3 of students enrolled at Italian universities are not in line with the regular date of the exams. What the Italian Conference of the Rectors has done is to talk to QS and times higher education and ask them to exclude students who are lagging behind in their studies from the overall count. And both QS and times higher have agreed to that. And so from one year to the other, the Italian universities, all the Italian universities together, have been able to exclude approximately 1/3 of the students from the count. And for those of you who, of course, follow up rankings, know that in the faculty-student ratio, this is a great advantage. It means that on average, all Italian universities got a 1/3 advantage from the year before. Something similar may happen, of course, to Turkey or to Azerbaijan or to all the other countries. Obviously, unfortunately, I'm not an expert of the education system in your own countries. But I'm sure that there's something that may happen in your own country that if you ask, let's say, the equivalence of the Italian Rectors Conference, get together, study the rankings and understand how they can adjust to the rankings, then you may probably get a better understanding of the statistical data you can provide to the agency. In relation to research data, I, of course, identify a financing strategy to increase the quality of your research. For example, recruit research staff only according to a pre-settled minimum standard of applications, or reward the publication of research paper on specific research products. These are all the most obvious things you may do. When it comes to, today we don't cover that much the Shanghai Jiaotong World University ranking because it doesn't have an area related to reputation. But for example, for that ranking, as some of you know, the acquisition, instant acquisition of highly cited researchers, those who are in the top 1% of research according to the bibliography, then this accounts immediately for the 20% of that ranking. So for example, going, scouting those specific professors can have an immediate impact on your ranking. Finally, reputation. Of course, you probably know that QS, especially, Times Higher Education doesn't have that option, but QS gives you the option to provide to the agency 800 new entries, 400 professors, of course, professors external to your own university, and 400 international faculty. Now, since you have to collect this data, and depending on where these professors and employers are based, you also have to collect their GDPR. Then I think that this becomes like an important treasure, something you can work on, as we will see later, and you can engage with them in communication strategies that can maximize your reputation. Next, please. Now, 400 academic professors you can provide to QS each year may seem like a drop in the ocean if you consider how many are those responding to the QS survey. For last year ranking, over 100,000 researchers and faculty have responded to the survey, nominating over 5,000 universities in the world. So if you say, what can my 400 provide? Well, 400, if you'll be able to provide 400 external faculty, especially if this will be international faculty, since the weighting is much higher, and all this just for example, all those 400 people would basically include your own university among those that they signal to the ranking agency, to QS. Then 400 new nominations every year would make most universities jump a lot in the ranking. So the issue here is to try to provide a careful list of academics to the QS agency. In other words, it is not important for you to nominate a very important, prominent professor from a very important university. What is important to provide is a professor with whom you or your university has a working relation, as a scientific relation, because most probably that person will remember your university as one of those that can be nominated. Remember, the idea here is one head, one count. The nomination you may receive from the rector of Harvard University is as important as the nomination you may receive from a researcher who just entered, let's say, I don't know, the University of Malta, just to make an example. Because again, what's most important is just the nomination, doesn't matter who gives it. Next, please. The same thing holds true in relation to the employer reputation. In this case, the survey is composed of 51,000 respondents, over 51,000, nominating a bit less than 5,000 universities worldwide. You can see more or less a geographical representation. Now, I know that today we are speaking to a plethora of universities which are more or less all in Central Asia, let's say from Turkey to Bangladesh, but also other, of course, countries in between. As you can see, unfortunately, this area is still not very well represented. It means that, for example, for employer, there's not many employers still represented. And so, of course, we must find ways, you must find ways for you to engage with them, let them understand how important it is for you, for them to participate in the rankings, in the surveys, because of course, you know, if they participate in the survey, they get a better reputation for the university, which in turn will get better students, which in turn will become better employees of their own companies. And so some campaigns can be constructed that way. Next, please. So what is academic reputation? Academic reputation, of course, is many things. Of course, it's the strength of your research. It is the networking, international networking, the big names that you may be able to attract at your university, the organization of conferences, the work experience of all those involved, innovation, and media stories are also very important, because it's through communication that you can build upon the treasure of all the great professors that work at your university. Without communicating well what these people do at your university, unfortunately, you will not be able to maximize the results of your efforts. Next, please. Here you can see, according to SIVA, it's just, if you wish, a ranking of the global research prestige. These are the publications in the top 10% of journals, according to CiteScore, per country. And well, if we consider the universities that are represented in the, let's say, left of the slide, so starting from Denmark until United Kingdom, you can see that a relatively higher percentile of publications from these countries stand in the top 10% journals than those that are on the other side of the slide. And so this means that there's a greater percentile of investment to become part of this 10% in countries like Denmark, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, than it is in other countries. And this is, of course, also reflected upon the ranking of the universities in these countries, because there's a greater percentile of universities from these countries in the rankings than from all the others. So in other words, the more you invest in the very best research, the more higher return you will have in rankings. Next, please. I want to take again, Professor Gasimov at the beginning was also mentioning the hard work of university I would say in the overall Islamic area countries. Well, I would say that this University Putra Malaysia, is a very good example that we can take into account. You remember what I was telling you at the beginning. I work with the University of Rome Sapienza, which has worked greatly to try to achieve a better rankings. In the last 6 years, they got 50 better, they advanced 51 positions in the QS ranking. Now look at what this university has done in the same 5 or 6 year span. They had an outstanding, incredible growth, going from more or less 13 to position 132 in 2021. In basically 2021. So they got basically over 50 points percentile growth in the citations by faculty ratio, which accounts 20%. But by doing so, in the same time, of course, also, I assume, working on their communication, they have achieved a very good increase in the reputation by employers, about 17 points in that single parameter, and about 5 points in the academic reputation. And so this university, which was founded exactly 50 years ago, in the same time span, an old university, and as you can imagine, old means at the same time usually very big, as Sapienza is over 100,000 students, University of Rome is over 100,000 students. It's very difficult to move, in other words, even though the rector may have very good ideas, but it's very difficult to move over 4,000 professors towards one goal. This much smaller university, much younger university, have done almost 10 times the work that Sapienza has done. In fact, they even bypassed Sapienza in the last 2 years, becoming number 132 in the world. So this is testimony of the fact that by working hard towards one direction, you can achieve incredible results in a relatively very short time span, again, 7-8 years as in this case. Next, please. So to basically recap things, what can be done in order to increase your reputation? First of all, while you collect your academic and employer contacts year over year, your university, of course, builds an increasingly valuable data set of your most precious stakeholders. So the first thing is to communicate internally when you ask your own colleagues at your own university to give names to be provided to QS. They have to be wary, they have to understand exactly what has to be provided. Once again, not the Nobel Prize winner if you don't know the Nobel Prize winner. Just provide those contacts that you are sure you have a good communication and a good, basically, cooperation with, because these are the ones that most probably will remember about you. Then you can create bespoke communication campaigns that go beyond traditional newsletter. We will see an example from an Italian university immediately after. The idea is that you should go beyond the English. You can start, if you have, for example, very good relations with, let's say you are a Turkish university and you have multiple relations with universities in Italy, you may start thinking about creating a newsletter in Italian, not because the colleagues in Italy don't speak English. Of course, most of us do speak English, but the problem is that if you speak in a native language for someone from a specific country, he or she will understand the value you give to that particular communication, and that will increase a lot the impact of your communication. Then you can subdivide your academic contacts by discipline. Again, language, as we discussed, or both. Employer contacts can be organized according to their industry, role, and language. In other words, you have to try to focus and target each single category according to a specific newsletter. For example, you can start, if your university has a strong hold in engineering, you can start creating a newsletter only for engineering, and you can only target your engineering colleagues around the world, not send an overall, let's say, newsletter that basically speaks about medicine, humanities, arts. If you're talking to engineers, just try to talk only about engineering. Increase the effectiveness and awareness of your communication by tailoring messages depending upon the recipient's scientific field of action or industry. You can use your own foreign researchers, staff, and sometimes students to communicate in the native language of the receiver. So you can ask them to help you create things in the language of your recipient, again, for the same reason before. So yes, English is universal, but you can be much more effective if you communicate in Mandarin to Chinese stakeholders, Russian to CIS nationals, and so on and so forth. And so at the end, adopt continuous communication channels that can increase awareness of your brand and generate increased interest in your counterparts receiving your messages. Next, please. For example, the University of Venice Ca' Foscari has done this since a long time. Here, I hope, unfortunately, I'm very sorry not to speak Turkish, but as you can see, they have started creating a newsletter in Turkish, which only goes to Turkish-speaking nationals. So the idea is, of course, that it's not only a matter of language. Here, the university also tries to treat especially the areas that are most interesting for Turkish-speaking nationals. For example, according to some research that we have conducted at that university, we have seen that Turkish nationals, both researchers, academics, and students, are specifically interested in what Italy does in the area of historical research, everything which is related to Mediterranean studies and things that are related to classical studies. So they try to focus on that. Maybe there's less interest from Turkish speakers towards what Italy does in the area, for example, of hard sciences. So we try to focus on the areas that are of interest to most Turkish-speaking community. And so it's not only a matter of language, but it's also a matter of content. Next, please.
Dario, I'll ask you to wrap up a few minutes. You have a few minutes just to give you sort of time to prepare to sum up.
Yes, thank you. This is basically one before the last, just to say that QS has helped very recently universities to create databases that can help the university to create specific bespoke communication campaigns in order to increase the awareness and therefore the reputation of the university. So we can work with the university in order for them to, again, create specific bespoke communication campaigns that can enlarge the awareness of your universities worldwide. Sorry, the next, please. And last, just again, a reminder, not the one before, perfect, this one. Just a reminder that, of course, when we target prospective students, there's a whole area of other stakeholders we have to talk to in order to convince students to come to us. So, of course, we are talking to the academics that counsel the students, the prospective partners, the scholarship providers, current students in our universities can help future students to come to our university, employers, university leader, of course, our own government and the alumni. And that's all. Thank you for, you can go to the last, thank you. These are my contacts for any further information you may want to ask me for. And thank you also for your patience. Teşekkür ederim for your hospitality.
Thank you, Dario, for sharing some practical tips as well concerning especially managing the reputation data as well as the statistical data. So something similar to that happening with the passive student numbers. That's also valid in Turkey, for example. That was a great tip. Thank you. Now I would like to give the mic to Turan Süleymanov. Turan Bey is the head of strategic development at Azerbaijan State University of Economics, and he'll give us some information about the higher education institutions in Azerbaijan and how they are doing in the international rankings and their perspectives. So,
Ayşe
here we
Hanım'a
are.
bir sual vereyim.
Buyurun madem.
Mən cənab konsolya öz təşəkkürümü bildirirəm gözəl müalicəsinə görə.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but I would like to thank Mr. Consolio for his very informative presentation.
Thank you very much, Professor Süleymanov.
Daria konsolyadan bir xahişimiz var bizim.
And I would like to use this opportunity to make a kind request to Mr. Consolio, if he doesn't mind.
Of course, please.
Biz sizi dəvət etsək ali məktəbimiz üçün ayrıca bir interaktiv görüş keçirə bilərik sizdən.
Could we please organize a separate meeting between you and our university members, the staff and academic staff, faculty, if you don't mind?
Interaktiv.
Just to make it interactive, to share your best practices and experience with our staff.
With most pleasure, Professor Gasimov. We can definitely organize that. If you wish, we can talk later with your staff and organize this. Hopefully in the near future can be in person, or otherwise we can do it online.
Çünki burada çoxlu suallar var.
Because from your presentation we see that there are many questions that should be answered to.
Biz istərdik ki, o sualları sizdən cavablandıraq.
And we would highly appreciate if you could just share your experience and help us to find the answers to these questions.
Most definitely so, Professor Gasimov. I'm at your disposal. We can definitely organize that at a later date. Thank you.
Təşəkkür.
Turan Hocam.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thanks to Professor Dr. Elmar Gasimov for this wonderful event that his higher education institution is hosting today. And I will also like to send my greetings to Professor Dr. Mustafa Aydın. Last time we met with him 3 years ago at EURAS exhibition in Istanbul, and we hope after the COVID restriction we'll be able to visit Istanbul Aydın University and enhance our cooperation. So I'm representing Azerbaijan State University of Economics. We call it as a UNEC, so it's our brand. But Baku Higher Oil School and also ADA University are also very native to me because I have been adjunct professor at both of the universities in the past. So today, I would like to present you my presentation on higher education institutions of Azerbaijan in international rankings. And I will talk about challenges and also opportunities. So Mr. Consoli has talked about some of the points that I was going to talk, but I will try to not to go into details, but I will try to analyze the current situation in Azerbaijan at the moment. And actually, I'm a director of strategic development, and for the last 5 years, I have been dealing with international ranking at our university, and I'm also kind of a consular director in regard to international. As following, first I will try to show you just the figures and tables that represent Azerbaijani higher education institutions in international rankings. Then I will go into details a little bit about the methodology of international rankings. Then I will talk about the major challenges or main problems of Azerbaijani higher education in international rankings. Why is they not like top 100 or 200, 300? Then we will talk about opportunities, what we can do to improve ranking of Azerbaijani higher education institutions. And so here I have prepared a table that shows different international ranking and position of Azerbaijani universities. Of course, I cannot put all these universities here. For example, on the first row, you can see that we have a QS, Emerging Europe and Central Asia ranking. So here, when you look at the ranking from the last year, you can see Baku State University is ranked between 211 and 220, and UNEC is ranked between 221 and 230. Then follows the Kazakh universities, and also we have ADA University and other universities as well in this regional ranking. And then when we look at the QS World University ranking, we can see that there are only 2 Azerbaijani higher education institutions. That's the UNEC and Baku State University, which 1+. And then when we look at Vivometrics transparency ranking, we do also have 2 Azerbaijani higher education institutions there. That includes Baku State University and UNEC. And these numbers we see there is a number of the citations. So it's based on the methodology of the Vivometrics transparency ranking. And then when we look at the impact rankings that's prepared by Times Higher Education Institution, we can say at the moment, well, last year we had only 2 universities there, Baku, Azerbaijan State University of Economics and Kazakh, but this year it changed. Now we have more universities. So Kazakh is number 1 at the moment. And then you look at the UNIRANK international ranking. So you can see here, UNEC is like in the world is a rank on 366, and other Azerbaijani university follows as well. And then multi-rank ranking, it's international ranking institution financed by European Union's Erasmus Plus project. So they actually received a grant from European Union to prepare this ranking. And we have here 3 Azerbaijani universities, and Azerbaijan State University of Economics is also ranked in subject ranking here, which is it's ranked on 209 out of the 250 universities in economic subject. So we have a UI green matrix that comes, this ranking comes from Indonesia, and we have 3 Azerbaijani universities in here as well. And then we have a rule round university ranking. That's a ranking agency that comes from Russia, that was established in Moscow. And we have also 3 Azerbaijani universities, and you can see where they are ranked at the moment. So that's the current situation of Azerbaijani universities in international ranking. Now I would like to go into a little bit about methodology, how they are being calculated, right? How our universities they make there, and then I will give some recommendations. As I have told, I will try not to repeat some points Mr. Consoli explained. So I was going to tell some of them as well, because I'm also dealing with international ranking. QS is one of the most prestigious international ranking institutions in the world. So, and we care about cooperation with QS, and we have been cooperating with QS for last 5 years. QS has different ranking. One of them is a regional ranking, which called European, Emerging Europe and Central Asia. And then there is a ranking of the young universities under 50. And then there is a world university ranking. But this is a very different methodology for each ranking list of the QS ranking. For example, academic reputation is 30% here, employee reputation is 20% here, and faculty student ratio is 10%, people per faculty is 10%. So what do we understand by academic reputation? Academic reputation, it means actually universities, they provide list of academics they know, which they are familiar with their universities, and then QS conduct online survey, and this academics, they attend in this online surveys, and they gives a award to different universities. Same with employer reputation. Okay, so actually, you know, most of the universities don't know that they have a chances to provide list of the companies, list of the academics or professors to QS international ranking, so they can be included to the survey and they can express their opinion about the universities, right? And you can see here in the regional ranking, International Research Network is 10%, and Web Impact, which is calculated based on the Vivometrics ranking, is a 5%, and Staff with PhD 5%. Then citation faculty and international student, each of them has 2.5% shares in this methodology. But when we look at the QS World University ranking, you will see that academic reputation has highest weight here. So 40% of the weight in World University ranking of the QS comes from academic reputation. And then 10% we have employee reputation. And you can see they're like way less fewer indicators in the World University ranking in comparison to the regional ranking, right? So, and if you look at here, the main criteria that the QS measures in international ranking is research quality, including academic reputation, citation per faculty, internationalization of the universities. They use indicators such as international students, international faculty, and they measure your university performance in teaching quality, which key indicator is faculty-student ratio that has almost 20% weight in this World University ranking, and of course, greater employability, which employer reputation indicator is being used. Okay, so in this survey, employer reputation, so companies met top managers from different companies in private sector, and also it can be also in the government sector probably actually alumni of this university, if they have hired any alumni from this university, etc. Right? And then another important international ranking organization is Vivometrics. So for the long time, people used to call it it's only like measure web presence of the university, but it's not true. Vivometrics during this time have become also academic, and it's also academic ranking of the universities. So there is three main indicators in this method, in this international ranking. Those include visibility, transparency, and excellency. And you can see visibility, it means web content impact of the university, right? So they are looking for a number of external network linking to the institution web page. You know, like you can go to Majestic and check your university's web page, how well you are, okay? So you will see how many external links, etc. you have got. For example, when a few years ago, when I was doing some analysis, and I found out that some of the Azerbaijani universities, they have got very, very good visibility. And then openness, that means top-cited researches. In this regard, we're talking about number of citation from top 210 authors. So, I mean, Vivometrics look at the Google Scholar, right? So, and they choose 210 authors, which is affiliated with your university web page, right? And they eliminate first 21, and then they calculate number of the citation from rest of the scholars, right? And then there is another indicator which has a, so we call it top-cited papers. In this regard, they actually check the papers among the top 10% most cited in each one of the all 27 disciplines of full database, okay? We're talking about Scopus database, right? Vivometrics, QS, they all work with Scopus database, okay? So that's one of the problems with Azerbaijani universities. I will mention it later on, right? And then we have here Times Higher Education Institute, World University ranking. You can see here main indicator includes 30% share which has teaching, and then 30% share has research, 30% share has a citation, and then 7.5% share weight has international outlook and industry income. As you can see here, research and citation. So Times Higher Education is more like, I would say, research oriented. Okay, so it's you have to have very good, strong research in order to be listed in Times Higher Education World University Ranking. Yeah, and then of course we have a ARVU, like, you know, they also call it Shanghai ranking. Well, that's we have no single Azerbaijani university in this ranking because that's very tough to get to university, or probably your alumni is one of the Nobel Prize winners. And also research output has a very high share here. And I will tell you why research is very low in Azerbaijani universities, or why it seems to be Azerbaijani higher education institutions have very low research output. So, and I would like to come to the challenges based on my analysis. What are the main problems? So one of the main problem is when you look at any international ranking, you cannot find single Azerbaijani university that it says we have a high research output. The problem is that our scholars, our professors, our scientists, they do publish a lot of researches, but the main problem is that, for example, RUR is using Web of Science database, but QS and Times Education, they use Scopus database, right? So, but our professors, most of our professors, they can speak Turkish, they can speak Russian, and some of them can probably speak English. So young professors, because they can speak English. So our professors used to publish their articles in the journals like in Turkish or Azerbaijani or Russian national journals, but they are not indexed neither in Web of Science, no Scopus, okay? So, but they are well-respected journals, okay? For example, you want to defend your PhD or you want to get like some academic titles, you can publish in these national journals, but the problem is that they are not counted in international ranking. So what we have to do, so in the last few years at our university and also some other universities, for example, when you look at Azerbaijan State University of Economics, like more than 80% of the researches in the Web of Science database, so they were published in the last 5 years. So if you look at 30 years of the history of Azerbaijan State University of Economics, you know, so, and then it's same with other universities as well. So now we are, so most of the universities we have, of course, like I'm not talking about like a smaller or young universities, but well-established higher education institution in Azerbaijan. So they had many publications, but they didn't have all the statistics, citations, and number of the articles will be taken into consideration from Scopus database. Another one is the Web of Science index articles. We have a lack of Web of Science index articles in comparison to other Western European universities. Why? Because US News and US Weekly and also RUR rankings, they use Web of Science database for international rankings. And so, as you know, Azerbaijani government, Minister of Education, a few years ago signed an agreement with Clarivate Analytics, which really provide a good ground for increasing publication of Azerbaijani higher education institutions in Web of Science. And also last year, Azerbaijani Minister of Education also signed agreement with Scopus, not Scopus exactly, but Elsevier, who Scopus belongs to Elsevier, you know that, right? And then also it helps to our universities to increase number of the articles in those databases. So there's a support mechanism in both in government level and also in higher education institution level. Then another problem with Azerbaijan higher education institution is related to being single profile university. For a long time, for example, Azerbaijan State University of Economics is economic. It was a diplomatic academy. Or Baku Higher Oil School, that's very good in engineering, etc. But the problem is that in humanities and in social sciences, it's very hard to publish in high impact factor journals, right? For example, I mean, I will not mention name of the university, but I know the universities, when I check databases, for example, they are not the profile in mathematics or in natural sciences, but they're like they have a profile in social sciences or humanities, but the publications they have from a Department of Mathematics and Physics is like twice much higher than they have from humanities or social sciences departments when it comes to Scopus index journals. So it's much easier for Azerbaijani university to publish in like in natural sciences, chemistry, medicine, or physics, etc. But when it comes to like political science, economic sciences, humanities, literature, it's very tough. And then some of the universities, they have a single profile and they don't do research in other fields. That's why that's created a problem. But nowadays, if you look at ADA University or Baku Higher Oil School, they have both MBA programs and very good prestigious programs. Or Azerbaijan State University Economics, it was an economic profile, but now it's offering, they have an engineering school and they have a digital economy, digitalization, and there are a lot of engineering and IT programs are offered at this universities. It also gives, I believe it will also solve some issues in near future. Another problem is related to website, you know, Unirank, Vivometrics, and all these rankings, they look at your web percent of your weight come from your web page, which is measured by Vivometrics, right? So at the end of the day, so I mean, we have to really pay attention to our web page, right? It has to be according to international standards. It has to be, when you search on search engine, you have to use search engine optimization and etc., right? And also structure of your web page, you know, like for example, you can check your web page, any university, right after that, go to Majestic and create your account and check your university, and you can compare university web page with to another university web page as well. So we have to really pay attention to web pages. So I would like to tell you, ADA University web page is one of the best one at the moment, and UNEC is launching its new web pages, so it's going to be amazing as well, and same with Baku Higher Oil School, and etc. So that's one of the important aspects you have to pay attention, even though it's not academic, but it's digital marketing and branding side of your university, which is taken into consideration in ranking as well. And of course, and one of the problem is lack of the joint publication with international partners. You know, EURAS is a great platform. Okay, why don't we use EURAS and make sure that our researchers are partnering with Turkish researchers or partnering with Russian researchers, or they have a joint publication with Bangladeshi, Pakistani, or Kazakh, Uzbek, you know. So when you look at the share of the joint publication of Azerbaijani scholars, that's way lower than most of the Eastern and Western European scholars, right? So, and I think we can overcome this problem by using the platform, for example, association like EURAS, and EURAS probably, I think Mr. Mustafa Aydin can also support in this regard. For example, having joint publication between universities, which is taken into consideration in international ranking, it also will help to improve quality of the research. So your researchers will make it to the top ranked journals and top index conferences and etc., right? So, and sometimes one university doesn't have enough resources to come up with the best research. Maybe, for example, Istanbul Aydin University and Baku Higher Oil School, maybe they can finance one research project and then they can have a great publication. That could be one of the future actions to be taken to improve the performance of our university international ranking. So, and I see a lot of opportunities. One of them is internationalization, like having double and joint degree program with other universities. That will help us a lot. And then, you know, like we are having increased number of international professors. For example, I would like to tell UNEC and other universities and ADA universities, like they have a lot of international professors, and we are increasing the number of the international professors. It's good. And it's also one of the indicators measure actually ratio of the international students and also international professors to local professors and to local students. And then we have to have more international students. So that's really going to have a positive impact. And then the problem is that, okay, so most of our universities, they're public university. They might have some restraints in regard to budgeting, budget for branding and marketing. But if you look at QS, like 50% of the percent of the weights come from reputation, academic or employee reputation. If they don't know your brand, they're not going to give, they're not going to vote for you, right? Okay, so you have to have good communication. You might have a wonderful research, you might have wonderful programs, but people are unaware of your programs or research centers. In that case, you're not going to get support from international arena or local arena, right? So we have to come up with a budget, and we have to understand that it's a very tough, higher education market is very tough, and we are not facing local competition, but we're also facing international competition. So we have to have a budget for branding and marketing. And also we have to increase the research budget. You know, good research doesn't come out of nowhere. I mean, you cannot tell your professors, right? So, you know, just you have to come up with a good research, but you don't finance there like, I know, like you have to have good labs and you have to have good salaries, you have to have good condition, equipment, and etc. It depends which field you're in. Or if you're in humanities or social sciences, you have to have access to this expensive databases so you can read the latest publication and discover something, right? So, I mean, if you don't provide just the fundings for research, if you don't have a good research budget, then you cannot expect to increase your research output. The problem is that now all the international ranking, now it's very difficult to be ranked on international ranking. So if you look at universities, they are there is a very tough competition. All the ranking institutions, they're moving towards more to academics. If you look at, like, for example, Times Higher Education, it measures your academic performance. There are a lot of weights there, right? For example, if you don't publish more than 100, like to be in Times Higher Education, you have to publish annually for 5 years, not less than 150 articles in Scopus database, right? So that's really big number. So you have to, every year, you have to publish 150 in Scopus database, and you have to do that for 5 years on the row, right? And now rankings are moving to more measurement of your research output, and you need a budget for that. And then, of course, there is a strong support by the Ministry of Education Azerbaijan. As I have told you, Ministry of Education has taken initiatives to sign a contract with Elsevier, Clarivate, and to provide access to this Web of Science and Scopus. But there are also universities, they come up with the strategies as well. That's a good thing. Now, I would like to conclude, just if you give me just one more minute.
You know, last minutes to wrap up, Professor Turan Hocam.
Yes. So, and what I would like to tell, like, we have a lot of opportunities, and we have to use it, and we have to move now, and we have to use, we have to analyze our resources, and we have to analyze the environment. But first thing we have to do is we have to start cooperating with these international ranking agencies, okay? I don't know how many of you have ever contacted those international ranking agencies and tell them, I want to attend in this international ranking. Okay, then they will provide you, okay, you have to give, they will tell you, you have to provide me this data, and then you have to provide me a list of employees or list of academics to attend our service, etc. And and I would like to thank you for your attention and your time. And I'm here at Azerbaijan State University of Economics. And if you have any question in future, you can contact me, and I will be more than happy to share my experience and knowledge with you, and also learn and cooperate with you as well. Thank you very much for this wonderful event. Ayşe Hanım.
Thank you so much. You have underlined some of the internal biases, maybe, such as you have to publish, you know, in English language, so some biases, inherent biases toward maybe some academic disciplines. So these are all sort of things that we have heard as criticisms of rankings as well, but you have also given us some good tips regarding how you can overcome these difficulties, some practical things that you can do, and especially your last point, working in cooperation with these agencies to get direct information from them and be in close touch with them if you want to sort of be in the rankings and improve in the rankings. So very good tips, as well as some criticisms, some of the shortcomings of these rankings as well. So thank you very much. Now I would like to turn to our colleagues from Kazakhstan. from a most reputable university there, Al-Farabi Kazakh National University. We have two colleagues joining us, Leyla Delo-Varova and Jakibai Sungariev. I hope I didn't really butcher your names with my presentation, but the floor is yours. We are really running out of time, so I will kindly ask you to, keep in mind the time. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Aisha, thank you very much. Dear colleagues, thank you very much for organizing this wonderful event. I remember in 2019, we were neighbors with the co-hosting university, and my greeting to Mr. Elmar Gasimov and all of the EURAS team. It was really great experience. And we are together with my colleague Jaksibay, try to be short. And to start, I would like to mention 2 points. Number 1, we all are crazy with rankings. And number 2, ranking works. So after the very ambitious, very emotional speech of our colleague, Mr. Turan, I think all of us have more motivation to go ahead with the ranking, and the way of Al-Farabi into the QS ranking and other ranking is also very specific. So it's very interesting. Thank you very much. And I do believe that the long way, the difficult way is also start from this small steps. That's why we decided to take some concrete case like international student within the internationalization process. And if even it's just 5% in the ranking, exactly QS ranking, we're sure that it is important, and it is makes us to develop other fields of ranking, academic reputation, international staff, publications, whatever. Okay. And Kazakhstan has all of the base to develop internationalization process, and we have the proper law base for this. It's strategies, its national plan, strategies, and our own university's strategy. And I think that all of us know how important are international students for each university. And Al-Farabi is going to reach 25% in the whole portion of students by 2025. And actually, for sure, we have to mention the impact of COVID-19, and we know all of the reasons, and all of us have a resistance to it, like we try to work out and find the solution for all of these problems. And like how to extend, developing virtual platforms, working more with website, remote or distance education, how to extend deadlines, and many other approaches. What else? What should we do? Yeah, for sure, we were pushed to develop new instruments, new mechanisms to go ahead and to keep our rankings, to keep the level of our education, and not just to keep, but to develop internationalization process at the same time, not to lose students, to keep these students and to work with these students. Here we also use the Keystone platform. We use our own international platform for working with this aspect of internationalization. And now I want to give the floor to my colleague Jaksibay. Just in few words, he will present how the new instruments and platforms work, like a national platform in Kazakhstan and Brembo. Thank you. Jaksibay? Jaksibay?
You're on mute. If you can just unmute yourself.
Okay.
No.
What?
Leyla, you're okay. It's your colleague. His mic is still on mute. Here we go. Yes.
Okay.
Hear you.
Sorry, I couldn't find the microphone. So let me welcome you, the participants of this conference, and congratulate the organizers and the members of EURAS with creating EURAS ranking. I would like to start with the fact that now all over the world, the issues of internationalization are given special attention. The governments of many countries have developed, and some are just beginning to develop national strategies of internationalization. Most of the universities in the world, including Kazakhstan, have a separately developed internationalization strategy, or internationalization outlined in the general development strategy of the university. Today, taking into account that the internationalization of higher education is a global trend that continues to gain momentum at global and national levels, Kazakhstan, like many other countries, are trying to develop a common model of internationalization. At the moment, the development of the national online recruiting platform, you can see our presentation, study in Kazakhstan is underway. Understanding the importance and the role of university branding, we have developed special university brand book. So this is our brand book, where we try to place all the main aspects of the university activities. So taking into account the cultural characteristics and our history and tradition. Indeed, we face some challenges, but as you understand, we need to start somewhere. And this undertaking is creating and implementation of our university brand book. So first pages are welcoming pages here with welcoming speech. So then you can find useful information about the season, weather in Almaty, average prices for accommodation and education fees, university life, photo gallery, just very fast. So it's a photo gallery of our activities, and here's a national holidays Nowruz. So mission, and of course the ranking very important here. So we put in our brand book information about the ranking and the national and the international ranking also is important. So we put everything in our brand book. So about the faculties. So also we put our university programs. Some words about international cooperation, of course, admission, and some research information, student life information, research activity. So we plan to open our houses and centers abroad. So about our successful graduates, some reviews, and contact details. So this is what short information about what we are doing for international education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our colleagues. You have underlined the importance of maybe rankings in terms of attracting international students and faculty as well, right? So this is a big part of the branding strategy and the communication strategy of Al-Farabi University. The fact that your placement in various international rankings is part of your branding strategy. So this was an important point worth underlining. If you want to internationalize rankings, and where we are in these various rankings becomes a part of our internationalization and branding strategy. Thank you. So last but not least, so if you can stop sharing your slides, I would like to call on to our last panelist, Professor Zafar Aslan. If you can just stop sharing the slides. Leila, maybe it's your screen, is it? So if you can stop.
Yes, I'm working on it. Just a second.
Okay.
Okay. Just a second. Okay. sorry, I can find how to
When you say share screen, then it should say also stop share.
Maybe it's on the top.
No, Jaksubai, I think you should.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine now. This is fine. We managed it. Okay. Yeah. So our last presenter, thank you very much. Our last presenter today is Professor Zafar Aslan. She's our Vice Rector at Istanbul Aydın University. She has worked, as a professor, of course, in the computer science department, and she has extensive international research herself in her area of expertise. But administrative jobs, she has held this position for internationalization, quality assurance. We have worked closely on international quality assurance processes like the European University Association's institutional evaluation program together. So she's very much in the knowledge of both the internationalization and the quality aspects of our university's work. So Professor Zafar Aslan, the floor is yours. I will ask you to share your screen if you can. Hocam, please unmute yourself, your microphone.
Thank you very much, Ayşe Hanım. Dear President, dear rectors, I try to share my file. So I think I'm able to share it. I hope so. Can you see? No? Not yet. Okay. Probably now it will be available. I will stop the sharing and then start again. Sorry for the problem.
Başlıyor hocam.
Yeah. I apologize. On the desktop, yeah, here. Okay, I got it. Is it okay?
Daha açılmadı, bekliyoruz.
It takes some time, I think. No? Yes? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much for your patience first. Dear President, dear rectors, dear colleagues, it is really a great opportunity for us to discuss with you, to get together with you here in very important webinar. And first, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to the Azerbaijan for their Republic Day, forthcoming Republic Day. So in my presentation, I try to just focus on specific topics, not purely related with the ranking, but mainly related with the internationalization. Without having any internationalization, it is really important to share our experiences, our knowledge, and so on. Here, of course, the internationalization only in higher education institutions, we will focus on it. So I try to share with you some good practices regarding with our university, our trends, motivations, and models will be discussed. And if you look at the key points, specific features of the international higher educations are important indicator, and of course governmental policy, and also some guides. So we are too lucky because we are a member of the Bologna process. In 2012, we had our diplomas level and also a member of this group. So new skills agenda is also very important and a very important guide for us. So in recent years, micro-credential situations have been getting more and more important. Also follow-up process and mock consortium, massive open courses and learning approach, especially during the pandemic situations. It is very great opportunity for the students in all programs. And if we look at the quality assurance and approach of the quality assurance, we can underline these keywords: credential and learning experience, and of course the guidelines put it forwarded by European Higher Education Association area. So they are very important pathway for all the universities, as I remember the details. So if you look at the internationalization and how it fits together, of course, internationalized curriculum, not only internationalized, but also internalized. So international mobility from the point of student and student recruitment and student support and their integration, and globally connected research, as you know, previous speakers underlined the importance of it, especially Turan Hoca and other colleagues. So an international learning experience and high quality and international oriented staff. This is really a good opportunity to get the outputs of today's meeting for having some cooperations, further communications on the collaboration. If we look at the population for the teenage group, I mean the university age group, and here we are in Turkey, somewhere here, and then this is the projection scenarios until 2025. So this is one of the indicator of the ranking, as previous colleagues mentioned, underline the student staff ratio. And here we can have this ratio, and it is also, you know, near vicinity of the average of the whole higher education institutions in Turkey for our institution. But, you know, for coming years, because of the number of population, it is, you know, it is increasing. And of course, pandemic offered us very great opportunity to be flexible, to have a flexible learning under the online situations. So, but of course, we should restrictly follow the quality assurance systems, and either not only for online, but also blended and flipboard training programs and so on. So if we shortly focus on our history and our background experiences in this higher education field in Turkey, we established in 2007, but of course, the base of the university establishment stage is, you know, closely related with the vocational school, Anadolu Vocational School, which is one of the first vocational school which directly coordinated with the Higher Education Council in Turkey. And if we look at the ECTS labels and Bologna process in 2012, 2014, and then we are member of the European University Association in 2014, and beginning from 2017, we try to follow the follow-up process regarding with the institutional evaluation process, not only for international one, under the European University Association shame, but also we have some responsibility to the Higher Education Council in national level for the quality assurance and evaluation process. And if we look at here, you know, there are different various topics are available in our university, and we have great cooperations in between Arizona University regarding with the online courses. This is one of the case study, and also we have ISO quality management systems for satisfaction management systems also in 2015, 2006. And we have too many cooperations in between European institutions like, you know, UNIMED, EUA, and other details. Also more than 180 institutions in the world. So regarding with the impact factor, impact ranking for Times Higher Education, we are also in the first 200 institutions in the world. Amongst the foundation universities, if you look at, we have focused on the clean energy area, and this is the ranked top 3 in the country. And so we have also the first 300, amongst the first 300 institutions based on the QS Emerging Europe scale. And we are so lucky because we are the first institution in Turkey with the top international number of the international students, around 5,300. The very recent records they are. And also, the mobility programs are going on. And Turkality is another issue. And we had these projects initiated by Turkish Ministry of Economics. So it facilitates to support our success ratio and some cooperation between the companies in brand building efforts. So this is also another opportunity for us. And if you go through the ranking again, and number of no to poverty is one of the first category for our university, and also the selective research area, and also QSEC's a 2020 best workplace category degree. And also, we are based on the Europe records, we are ranked by 255th world universities amongst 155 universities. So of course, to get the best position amongst the universities, we should focus on the students' activities for training, teaching, and trainer trainings, and also research activities. The best way is the institution programs. So we had more than 15,000 master's and doctoral degrees in our university under the umbrella of Institute of Graduate Students Studies. And also we have more than 100 PhD graduates. So this is very important, and these are the governing factor for building the research area in our university and collaboration in international meaning especially. Another issue is women and higher education leadership. So we are a member of TUAS, Third World Academy of Science. The under group of is the Organization of Women Science in Developing Countries. So our rector, Professor Yadigar İzmirli, is in the national committee who acts on behalf of the ladies students, especially in electrical engineering program. We are offering some scholarships together with OECD. And if we look at the internationalization, we have all programs and departments. They had the accreditation, continue until 2024. Even this week, we have the accreditation visiting process at the Faculty of Science and Literature. So, of course, the definition of the strategic research area is another issue. And every year, just preparing, during the preparation of our institution evaluation progress report, we have a look at the changing, right, with the list of our research areas. Last year, we added this part, hybrid online face-to-face training design. We have some national projects at the Faculty of Education and training programs for faculty members. Still, it is going on. And I myself also had a great opportunity to participate in this training programs. It's really great. And after many years to learn about the new developments in the training properties. And it will be over at the end of the June. So this year, in the middle of the June, we organized the one of the workshop regarding with the indicators of the quality assurance systems and also indicators of the research area to define the specific and additional marks into the list. So here, this is our guiding quality assurance systems. ECGS is the very important part of our, under this slide. We try to go ahead, not only for face-to-face training, but also blended or digital modes delivery, course delivery systems. So we are also very much interested in the learning outcomes and the linkage in between the student abilities and in connection with the quality assurance of each courses. And we try to also internationalize for each courses together with double lecture programs. This is our first issue in the forthcoming semester. I hope we would like to be more than happy to invite some of the colleagues from Eurasian institutions for different courses. And as you notice here in the almost final page, learning outcomes and existing external monitoring, especially European quality assurance, not only for faculties, but also vocational educational trainings programs, also very important. So here we also underline some qualitative changes related with the demands of the students for short-term training programs. We are thankful to Aisha and her group because they always prepare the summer and winter training programs, and also some difficulties for the lower working and lower middle classes for the high tuition fees and insufficient student aid and so on. So regarding with the institutional evaluation processes, sorry for misspelling error here, quality assurance systems, training and teaching for research and development is essential, and social contributions for the managing systems are also important. And so we should take care about the 5 steps here to have the loop at the end. Let's say planning and application, and planning and controlling and taking precautions, and to share the good practice and examples. So of course the questions we need to answer by following our mission, even vision, and we should always revise our curriculum under the new developments by considering internationalization and of course student mobility, student recruitment and student support and integration, and internationalization not only for faculty but each departments, each programs. So we should have internalization of the internationalization. So here I think I should underline the very close cooperation in between different coordination office here. We have the advisor board and Erasmus desk and the student recruitment office and student staff office for international groups and representative offices abroad and academic issues and coordinatorships at faculties and each departments. So these are the related sources for different details. And of course, from the point of view of the students page, I think it is important for having the optimum job opportunities. And they are also another indicator related with the quality and ranking of the university. So I would like to thank for all of you for your patience for the late evening time, and thanks again. I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hocam. If you can stop sharing your slides, please, we can go back to the, okay. If you have any questions from the audience, please type it in the question and answer box and also in the chat box. We already got some remarks in the question and answer box about requesting the PowerPoint slides. And we will share the PowerPoints with the audience later on. Ms. Sabina will be in touch with all the registered participants to send certificates, etc. So we can also share the PowerPoints with the audience registered participants if you allow that. So we'll be happy to share all the PowerPoints. But I would like to I'm waiting for questions if anybody wants to write anything, but let me just summarize a couple of points that came out of the various presentations today. One is that we can think of rankings within the general framework of quality assurance. Rankings is just one way of making sure that we are doing a better job and measuring our performance and constantly trying to improve our academic performance as universities. I think that was a good point that especially came out of the presentation of Professor Aslan. Secondly, I can say that many of you have described different rankings and various criteria used in the various rankings. So that really points out to a general trend in the sector, which is more and more rankings are coming out. So it's not just the one or two or the three famous ones that we all know from years back, which rely mostly on research output to measure performance. Now there's a whole bunch of other rankings out there which look at maybe other things, other categories or functions of the university. And as Professor Turan Süleymanov has pointed out in his presentation, for example, some of these sort of old classic global rankings may have some inherent biases against some disciplines or against national languages and national level research. So I think it is useful, this diversification of various rankings. I think it's up to each university and each national higher education system to consider various rankings and choose the one that best suits their university's mission, vision, their strong points. It could be research, but it could be other things. For example, I can say that from my work at Istanbul Aydın University, one of our strongest points is internationalization. And we are very much interested in rankings that look at internationalization, track our performance there, so we can improve our internationalization over a course of number of years, right? So the diversification and the inclusion of criteria other than research is, I think, good news for many of the young universities in the region. But we have to be careful in picking and choosing the rankings that work to our advantage, maybe. The other points that came out for me that I underlined is our first presenter from Bangladesh. I think that was Professor Islam's presentation, which showed that if you have a university that is dedicated for improving performance in the rankings, you need to have an office, you need to have a plan, and you have a set period of time, and it cannot be done overnight. Dario has also mentioned this, that you need to have a strategy and a time span to work on that strategy to improve your performance in the rankings. It's doable. So that's encouraging for many young universities to see these presentations. It needs work and it needs strategy, it needs time, but it can be done. So that's also another good news, I think, that came out of this webinar, and that's encouraging for all the young universities within the EURAS network and also in our region. Eurasia is such a dynamic higher education sector, I think. Many young universities and many improvements going on, national strategies, as our colleagues in Kazakhstan from Al-Farabi University has underlined. There's a national strategy that underpins universities' work in this area as well, to internationalize, to be a center, a hub of attraction for international talent, to brand yourself globally and regionally. So again, the importance of national strategies, especially of governments who are interested in improving their higher education systems and the support that they provide, is also important, right? So these are all the points that I made listening to all the valuable presentations from our speakers. And I was also, as talking, checking the question and chat box, and I didn't see any questions. I can give like maybe, you know, one sort of question from one of the speakers to the others. So we have 5 more minutes before we conclude. So maybe if one of our speakers or panelists has a question to another speaker, we can do that.
I think, can I add something?
Sure,
I think
please.
the main problem in regard to international ranking is in Western Europe, universities, they have a good research, they have a great position, but they did not know that they can apply for, they can go to international ranking and submit data and they can be ranked in international ranking, right? So they have a wonderful research outcome, etc. So now all these universities realize there is an international ranking and then they start applying for international ranking, and that creates problem for Eastern universities, okay? So like in former Soviet republics, like in at this university, like in Western European universities, which are not aware of these rankings, okay? And the second issue is that there is a national strategy in Kazakhstan and also in Russia and recently in France. In Russia, they merge universities and their research outcome is such a high. And if I'm not mistaken, at Al-Farabi University, they had like a research institute of the government academy. Now it joined to university, and now all the publication is counted for Al-Farabi. Either it's Al-Farabi or some other Kazakh university, if I'm not mistaken. So they have like 1,000 researchers. And it's now happening in France. Now it happened in Poland. So they just merge universities. For example, 3-4 universities get together and become one university. Like a very good example in Russia. And it makes almost impossible for other universities like us to compete with this, you know, like big universities. Like in Poland, in Russia, that's the same situation. Now that's happening in France. So, but in some of the, like Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, in Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, so universities like in engineering university, polytechnic university, but other universities, they get all together, 3-4 universities get together, and then of course they will have better research output and they will win the competition. That's what I want to add. Thank you very much. Maybe other speakers would like to say something.
Yeah, interesting point about university mergers, which is a way of you know, improving your rankings globally. Dario, you would like to add something?
Yeah. One thing that we should point out, I don't know if this was mentioned by my other colleagues before. We should basically subdivide rankings also according to another thing. There are some rankings for which you basically should not. I don't know if to use the conditional test. You basically don't need to apply because you are supposed to be evaluated independently from your application. This is true for QS, times higher education, the general ones. And then there are other rankings for which you must apply if you want to be considered. This is true, for example, for times higher impact, just to make an example, or QS graduate employability ranking. So obviously, it's true that, well, at the very beginning, to be honest, I was there since the very beginning. So at the very beginning, more or less, I mean, it's true that these rankings, QS times higher, they also needed an input from universities. Now that's not really the case. Yes, universities may still apply if they don't see themselves in the rankings. And it's frequently the case of young universities that don't have maybe they didn't pop up yet in the dashboard of QS or times higher. But basically the idea is that whenever QS or times higher see enough, let's say, research activity conducted on behalf of that university, then the next thing they do is they check how they rank in the reputation surveys. And if these two things match, then it will be them getting back to the university, telling them, well, we see that you are active, you see that you are alive, and we see that you have some, functions ready. So we would be ready to basically rank you. Then there are other rankings like Shanghai Jiaotong or ARVU, as discussed before, which doesn't even they don't even do that. So in other words, you cannot even get in contact with them. You cannot ask to be ranked. They basically rank you if they see that you have all the figures in shape. So it's a diverse and very dynamic world for sure. Thank you.
And Dario, which one of these two do you think really suits the young universities better? The ones that you submit information yourself and ask to be ranked and maybe get some, you know, information and consulting possibly, you know, or the ones that are sort of transparent, but on the other hand, very, very, very difficult to get into. So the ones like Shanghai. So do you think the former one works better for the younger institutions? So what would be your recommendation?
Well, most definitely, sorry. Yes, so most definitely the so-called opt-in rankings, like so those that you have to choose to apply, such as the Times Higher Education Impact and the QS Employability Ranking, are easier to escalate because there's much less competition. There's only a limited number of universities applying, and there's many more factors that can be taken into consideration than the just I don't know, 5 QS general ranking as. So you can get immediate results on those, let's say, voluntarily applying rankings. And of course, the results will be most probably higher, better, because you can quite easily get into, let's say, you apply to, I don't know, you have a medical university, you're a medical university, and you apply to SDG 3 of Times Higher Education Impact ranking, you most probably will make it into the top 2 or 300. Whereas to make it in the top 2 or 300 in the general QS or Times Higher, it's much harder, of course. So you can start like with that. And there's, of course, different strategy for those. My suggestion, for example, for Times Higher Impact, for those of you who have access to, for example, Scopus research databases, is to check what's your, because you can see now all these Scopus databases, Scival, they all have like lenses that already tell you in advance where you stand in terms of research, for example, in relation to SDG 1 or SDG 2 or SDG 3. So you can already see, at least for the research, which is about 25% of the overall methodology of THE impact, you can see basically where you stand, and you can decide, okay, if I am for research, let's say I'm already in the top 2 or 300, I have a good chance that, you know, by applying to all the other features, then I can get a good standing. Whereas if you don't stand, or if you don't have any standing in research, then it will be almost impossible. In terms of the general ranking, so let's say the big players, most definitely Shanghai Harbu is the most difficult, as it was said before by some colleagues, because as we know, they take into account not only research activity, but the history of research, so Nobel Prize, field medals, so it's very hard to escalate for a young university. At least if you are a young university in a country where there are no specific government funding for that. Mr. Suleimanov was mentioning before the case of Russia or Kazakhstan. In these countries, the federal governments are helping universities to, funding universities to get a better standing in the ranking. So it depends also a lot of that. For example, out of the 8 public universities in Hong Kong, 5 of them are in the top 100 in all major rankings. And if you think that until 1997, Hong Kong was a British colony, and until it was a British colony, none of these universities were conducting any research. It means that all of them started doing research in 2000, and basically all of them, not all, but most of them are in the top 100 now. So why? Because obviously the Hong Kong government spent billions on top of whatever the university was doing, spent billions to push research activities in those universities. So it depends also so you basically have to take into account, first of all, what the government is doing to help its own universities, and then of course the funding of the university, and of course have a good understanding of the rankings. But again, if you take all these things into account, QS Times Higher, I think that Times Higher, because Times Higher has more parameters, if you study well those parameters, you may have a better chance to come up well, especially if you are a university in like say Turkey or Azerbaijan or Kazakhstan, where, for example, the ratios, faculty-student ratio, are much better on average than continental Europe. In countries like Italy, you have 1 to 30, 40, or 50, one professor every 50 students, which is something you don't have in Turkey, to make an example. So you have a competitive advantage there. So it depends on all these factors, I would say, yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good point to stop, because you gave already a very sort of practical tip at the end as well, Dario. Thank you very much. So I would like to thank all our presenters, panelists today. And I would like to also thank Baku Higher Oil School and the EURAS Secretariat for organizing, putting together this event. And I would like our audience for your patience. We are already half an hour, late to finish. So I will hand over the floor to Sabina just to say goodbye, and we'll be in touch. Keep following us, and we'll share with you the details of this webinar with our audience next week, and hope to see you at our next webinar. Sabina?
Yeah, thank you all. Dear speakers, it was really amazing. Really thanks for everyone. I saw some some messages like they want to share your presentation with them. So if you don't mind, of course, I will share all the presentation with all the attendees. We had the full attendees. That's it means that it's really interesting topic which everybody knows, interested in. So I think that especially Mr. Dario, Elmar Gasimov, they have already invited you. So if you don't mind, they would love to connect you and invite you maybe online, maybe face-to-face to Azerbaijan, to Baku Higher Oil School. So we'll keep in touch. Thank you all. Thank you, Zafar Hocam, dear Professor Dr. Zafar Aslan, Turan Hocam, Zekşenbay, Leyla Hanım, Dario. So Mr. Professor Dr. Khairul Islam. So everybody. And special thanks to Elmar Gasimov and Könül Hanım Maharamova, which is they had really worked on it also. So we are really happy to work with the Baku Higher Oil School. Looking for next international webinar. So see you soon again.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Very much. Bye-bye.